It is too hot. It's a bit oppressive, I must say.
I'm coming from Italy. I'm not so used to have this weather.
There's not really much you can do, especially when you guys don't have a lot of AC anywhere. Like my hotel doesn't even have AC. So it's quite hot, but I don't know, just try and stay positive, I guess.
A blistering heat wave has swept across Europe during the 2026 summer months, triggering the highest level red heat warnings in places such as Spain, France, the UK, and other nations. Temperatures have climbed far above seasonal averages, raising concerns from experts of more extreme weather to come all over the planet.
Response. It's so important that people heed the warnings that we're hearing today and the next day in terms of their own health and safety during this heat event, but to shift it from an emergency response to a systemic national resilience. We're not prepared, but we need to get prepared for the heat that we know is coming in the months and years to come.
In a rare announcement, Spain's National Meteorological Agency issued a red alert for the northern Basque region, while the coastal city of San Sebastian is on track to hit a peak temperature of 40 degrees Celsius, nearly double the average temperature for the same period in typical years.
Muy fatal, pero con ropa liviana y todo eso, andar con líquido, bebiendo, hidratándonos porque no se puede. Y antes estaba un poco, pero igual así nos coge el sol, la temperatura no sube y...
Amid the extreme conditions, the agency also urged the public to limit prolonged outdoor exposure, stay hydrated, and take extra precautions to protect vulnerable groups, particularly the elderly and children.
So we try to avoid the tourist places. We are now in a tourist place, but we try to avoid them a little bit. And we stay in the shades and we drink a lot of water.
Further north, France is confronting a similarly severe thermal onslaught, which has resulted in more than 40 deaths. The National Weather Service has escalated its high-level red heat warning to 54 departments, with extreme conditions expected to affect approximately 39 million people.
Paris, au-delà de 25, c'est juste l'enfer sur Terre. Les transports, c'est catastrophique. Non, je dors pas bien, mais je pense que je suis pas la seule. Enfin, on doit tourner tous là, quoi. C'est juste horrible.
Meanwhile, major landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre have been forced to close their doors.
A lot of things got shut down, so it was really disappointing. It's my first time ever on the European continent. It's my first time in Paris.
Yeah, so I had tickets for yesterday afternoon at 5 p.m. and I received an email yesterday to say that my tickets had been cancelled and they would give me a refund. There were no more tickets available to purchase, so we'll miss out on going up the Eiffel Tower.
So many people who've traveled from around the world aren't getting to see the sights that Paris has to offer because of this heat wave, and it's dangerously hot.
Experts like Claire Barnes, a research associate in extreme weather and climate at the Imperial College of London, have reported that the cause of this heat wave is due to a weather event known as omega blocks, and have warned that, due to climate change, they could become more frequent in years to come.
This is actually a fairly typical atmospheric pattern. It's such a typical pattern, actually, of heat waves in Europe that it has a name. It's called an omega block. So it makes the shape of a Greek letter omega, capital omega. And that means that there's a kind of a bulge in the pressure field with this sort of hot air sitting underneath it and cooler air on either side. And it means that it's drawing warm air up from North Africa, from the Sahara, and that's why we have this really intense heat. And it's very slow moving, and it means there's kind of no wind, no breeze for respite, and it just kind of sits there and produces heat underneath, or brings the hot air underneath it. That's the kind of the weather pattern that's causing this heat wave, which is very typical, as I say, of heat waves in Europe.
Omega blocks typically last between 3 to 10 days, but can persist for weeks. While they mostly hit anywhere where mid-latitude weather exists, they mostly affect northern hemisphere areas such as North America and Europe. However, it can still strike in places such as Australia, as it has contributed to extreme heat waves, cyclones, and flood events. Experts have said these omega blocks have been intensified due to climate change. Reportedly, greenhouse gases, mainly from burning coal, oil, and gas, have heated the planet by 1.3 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times, and shows no signs of stopping unless humans do something about it.
there have always been extreme weather events. There have always been storms, there have always been heat waves. These are just events that are more unusual than our typical day-to-day weather. But what's happening under climate change is that many of these extreme events are becoming intensified. So when we have a heat wave, we're now seeing temperatures in Europe that are 2 to 4 degrees higher than would have been the case without human-caused warming. When we have storms, we're now seeing in many places intensified rainfall. And so the fact that extreme weather happens, that's just weather, that's just how it is. But many of these events, all heat waves and many storms, are intensified by human-caused warming. Generally, the fact that we have one heat wave doesn't necessarily tell us very much about the weather that we can expect later on in the year. As I say, extreme events like heat waves, they're the result of what we call natural variability. You know, you have some days that are hotter than others, and you have these weather patterns that cause these extreme events. What we do know is that this year is going to be probably among the warmest on record, because we are pushing average temperatures upwards with fossil fuel emissions and greenhouse gas pollution. So we expect it to be warm. Whether there will be more of these particularly intense heat waves, we just don't know.